than what I'm saying.
Yeah, I have no. We got to update that a lot. I mean, I figured the tier 1 counseling was the most important thing right now.
You're right. It was.
All right, so we're live. Welcome to Whiskey, Weights, and Whey. I'm Chuck.
I'm Zach.
And today we have Noah Galloway back with us. This is your second time on our show.
Yes, I'm super excited to be back on.
Yeah. After that trip you had today, I imagine you're not too excited to be here.
Well, no, I had a nap.
You had a
So
nap.
I'm fine. Yeah. Going from I was in Canada at my wife's family farm.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, everybody was like, what time do you have to leave? My flight was boarded at 5:40 in the morning. And it's 2 hours away. And I had to cross the border. Ooh. So I left. I got up at 2 a.m. It's snowing. Like us people from Alabama know how to drive. Of course, I told my wife, she's like, be careful. So I was like, I know how to drive in the snow. And I left thinking, oh, I hope I don't crash.
No idea.
I'll never hear the end of it. Yeah, but it's been a long day of traveling.
Well, at least you got a nap, so we don't have cranky Noah.
I don't know. You know, when you take a nap, I'm pretending not to be cranky right now.
You're a local celebrity, so you're good at putting on a good face.
Yeah, I can fake it really well. That's one thing I've learned about getting attention is you have to be on all the time and act like everything's great.
Oh, yeah. Well, you want to pour a drink?
Yes.
I've got a special bottle today. I say it's special to me. Somebody gave it to me for Christmas, one of my clients, and it looks really fancy. So red press, single pot still 12 year. So it's Irish whiskey. And I got to thinking the other day, people don't see us pop these normally. They're already open. So they might think we're not really drinking, but this one I waited to peel it open until the show.
To give you some little validity.
Yeah.
You get that a lot? Is everybody like, you're not really drinking?
Well, I mean, we get a little tipsy sometimes. But,
yeah.
I mean, we hold our composure pretty well, so people might not believe us. So.
You know, before we went live, I was thinking, have y'all already, I'd be afraid I'd end up drunk.
Yeah,
Of course, I don't drink anymore, but it's like, it really just gets things going.
Yeah.
And I just think anytime you go to the bar or whatever,
love that sound. Yeah.
Have a good drink and then the conversations just pick up.
I'll let you pour it. I know you're one-handed, but
That's okay.
That sounds so good.
It does.
I didn't know how much you wanted.
We'll start off there. It's Friday.
Yes, right. It is Friday. This is the first time we've done the show on Friday, I think.
I think you're right.
All right. Well, chin.
Chin.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Well, we got some people watching us. I guess for the first thing, for the people who are watching who don't know you, let's give us a little backstory about who you are, because you've done it before, but I look back, it was April.
When we did the podcast?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Has it been that long?
Yeah. We've been doing this show for almost a year now. I got to go back and look when we started it, but we've been doing it for over a year.
So is it pretty
Almost
like,
here.
how long y'all been on before I came on the show?
That was one of our early, I think it was episode 6.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So how many episodes have y'all done?
Today's 22. So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
last episode was our alcoholic episode. We've turned 21.
Yeah. And now you're allowed to drink.
That's
Right.
That's right.
You came so far.
Oh, so yeah, tell us a little bit about you.
I'm from Birmingham and was actually going to UAB, the University of Alabama at Birmingham, when 9/11 happened. And my uncle's a Vietnam veteran, had always said, you know, if you ever go in the military, go airborne infantry. So you're right up front. And because of that, like, that's what I did. I just never went back to class, went in the Army, went through basic training, went through jump school, and ended up at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. And I was with the 101st Screaming Eagles. And our division commander was General Petraeus. A lot of people have heard that name because he designed the way we invaded Iraq in 2003. And I was with a group of the 101st that we were his favorite. And we got to be like, we were the lead battalion, company. And it was, for me, the invasion of Iraq was, you know, politics and everything else out of the way. Mm-hmm. But to be a soldier and wanting to go to combat, and I was in my early 20s, it was the most exciting thing I'd ever done. Mm. And it was that deployment as we invaded Iraq, hit Baghdad, and then went to Mosul, and it was a year deployment. I was like, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I go on a second deployment and was in the triangle of death and got hit by a roadside bomb. Woke up 6 days later, no idea what had happened, how I got there. And it was Christmas morning or Christmas Day when I woke up, and I struggled and kind of just then buried everything and got back into fitness, started pushing myself, doing all these crazy races and things like that, which ended up putting me on the cover of Men's Health. And then I went on Ellen, and then went on Dancing with the Stars. Like, all these amazing things happened that I'm very grateful for. But now I'm at a point in my life that I'm doing this big mental health journey.
Yeah.
And I'm realizing so much of what I was doing back then was avoiding dealing with my stuff.
Yeah.
And I've also discovered that I am so much like so many other veterans, that there's, other trauma in our life that is the reason why we were attracted to this dangerous outcome. You know what I mean? Like going to combat. Like, I've had people that thank me for my service, and it always means a lot that they say that. But deep down, I'm like, I don't know how much of it was,
selfish.
Oh yeah, it was very selfish. Like, I didn't care. I've realized now that there was a lot of not caring about what happened to myself. Like, I was unhappy inside. And now that I've gone this mental health journey, like, I've had moments of just not caring what happened to me, and not caring if I died, and then realizing, oh my God, I was the same way back then. I just was I was treating it differently.
Right.
And now I'm in the feelings, and it's been painful, but now I'm getting over things and healing.
Yeah.
And it's been a huge positive in my life.
That's amazing.
We talked a lot about mental toughness in the last couple episodes, because you got your LPC. Am I using that?
Yeah, you're right.
LPC recently. So he's a licensed
Professional counselor.
Yep. And we talked about his mental toughness, because dealing with the injuries that he's had recently.
Obviously on the same level as yours.
Well, you know what though? I'll tell people, you know what? I'm glad you said that, because I meet people all the time, and I share my story here lately. I go into the mental health side, and people, it draws people in. Like, in the last 2 weeks, I've had over a dozen people that I have literally held as they cried after I've shared my story, whatever it was. And then they were free to open and share. And it was, it means so much to be that person. But I always tell people, do not compare. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Because we all have our things.
Well, because it boils down to the core. Like, we all experience avoidance. We all experience like grief. We all experience, it's all those core things that we all experience. So yeah, jokingly I said,
No, I know.
But
I was thinking about it today, was people that have injuries that aren't as visible as mine. It's actually a benefit that I'm missing an arm or a leg, and that's something that people see. And when I thought about it today, was the fact that I'm usually wearing shorts. And then, I had to go up where it was colder. So I was wearing my jeans, and then people don't see I'm missing a leg.
Yeah.
And, I do pretty well with a prosthetic leg, but like stairs or whatever, if there's a sliding, whatever it is, it's more of a struggle. I'm above the knee amputee, but people don't see it. So I'm like, oh my God, I realized that people that have, whether it be, mental trauma or internal injuries, they don't get the benefit of the doubt like I do.
right.
And so that's actually been a huge advantage. And I feel bad for my friends, especially combat veterans that have these struggles, or people, just civilians, anybody that have had these struggles and it's not visible. Like, it's way harder.
Oh,
It's so much
absolutely.
harder.
Absolutely.
You ever tuck your sleeve into your jacket pocket and
Look like
scare people sometimes?
No, like when I first got injured, I remember doing stuff like that. But now I've mastered, like I'll buy a hooded or a sweatshirt or something, and I pull that sleeve in, tie a little knot in it, and it goes back in, and it just sits perfectly. It's tied. There's no opening.
Nice.
And it's like I've found a perfect way of just, because I am like, that's me. Like, I like to not look good. Like, I'm not a great looking person, but like, I'm particular about.
You want to be aesthetically pleasing.
Yes,
for yourself. Yeah,
yes.
absolutely.
Like,
Same
as
here.
the guy who was on the cover of Men's Health.
I don't care about what I look
just
like.
had a six-pack, Yeah. From the neck down, I look amazing.
Oh, I'm pretty happy with my beard.
Yeah, you're solid. It's real solid.
But appreciate you joining us today, especially after the trip you had today. That was probably not a fun.
Well, it wasn't too bad until I got home and then took what was supposed to be a shorter nap than it was. Like, you really, if you could just not go into that REM sleep, that's
Right.
when you mess up. I don't know when I hit my alarm, and then I randomly woke up and was like, oh crap. Like, it had been way too long. And I literally just got in here right before we all went live. It was not my intention.
I was texting you. I was like, are you en route?
I saw the text
I don't
come
want to be
through as I was
rude.
whipping in the
Yeah.
parking lot.
I didn't want to be rude about it. I was like, are you
Well, I was running.
close?
I didn't say running late. I was just I took a 5-minute nap because it's
Yeah.
just been a long day. But
That was smarter to go a
worked
little
out.
shorter.
I worked out.
power naps are where it's at.
Yeah.
Anything longer than a power nap, like you're
Was it
screwed.
like 20 minutes or 40? What is it?
I think it's less than 20.
Yeah.
I think it's that sweet spot. It's like 5 to 13 minutes.
Yeah, and it makes a difference. If I take those short naps, you can feel it. And then when I have the longer ones, I feel it.
Rough.
I am a cranky person when I take a nap. Like, my wife will not let me take
If
a
I
nap.
take a nap, I'm done for the day. Like,
Yeah.
I'm horrible.
Yeah.
Well, naps for me are usually 4 hours.
Same.
Like,
Yeah, I'm going to go to bed and sleep. Which, you know,
Yeah.
there was a study done that our bodies are not meant for like 8-hour cycles. Like, most animals, they don't sleep at night all night long. They sleep in small cycles. And they showed, depending on what your goals were. So the caveat with that was, if you were training for like bodybuilding and stuff, 8-hour sleeps were good. It's recovery for muscle. But if you were wanting more like mental stability, like 4 hours, 3 or 4 hours here, get up, do your thing, 3 to 4 hours here.
Really?
Like taking naps intermittently like that helped with a lot of more mental processes. And I told Alex, I said, see, this is what we just need to start doing. Like, I'm tired.
Well,
I'm gonna go
they
take a
talk
nap.
about that with focused work. So we
Mhm.
weren't meant to sit at a desk for 8 hours and work straight. Like, research is showing that you work very diligently for 2 to 4 hours and give that focus time,
Mhm.
you're going to be the most productive you can. But anything after that 4 hours, you're going to get a decline in your productivity. But yet here in America, we still feel the need for an 8 to 10-hour day
Yeah.
every single time.
Pushing that 40-hour work week.
So that's
Which-
why that individual work is like, man, I could work 4 hard hours and still get a bunch of shit accomplished.
Yeah.
But
Well, from your perspective, Mr. License, practicing.
it doesn't make me a professional.
Yeah.
Though. On paper, it does.
LPC, you got the acronyms after your name
Right.
now.
That's awesome.
I got
You
the
are a
alphabet
professional.
working on it.
Yeah.
Would you suggest, like, what's the countries that are doing the 4-day work week? You still have 40 hours, but it's 4-day work week, and you get 3-day weekend versus doing probably more 6 days at 7 hours or 6 hours, whatever it is.
I think there would be a lot of benefit to it because I mean, personally, I can tell a big difference in my maybe momentum is the
Mhm.
word I'm looking for. And so I feel recharged coming in on a Monday after I've had 3 days off.
Mhm.
I'm ready to really get back at it. But you grind for 5 days, 5 days, 5 days, it starts wearing you down. But
Yeah.
on those days that I have a 4-day work week that may be extended a little bit, I feel more gung-ho about getting my stuff done.
Man, I would like a 2-day, 1 day off, 2-day, 2-day off.
Yeah, I mean, I think as an adult, it's really changed my perspective, like what a weekend is, because you can really do whatever you want to, whenever you want to anyway.
Yeah,
And so I don't care if my weekend's a Wednesday, Thursday, or if it's
the benefit of not having kids.
Yeah. Well, but having a
That is true.
weekend during the week, I think, is a huge benefit for a lot of people because so many things are closed on the weekends. And that's the
Absolutely.
only time people can go to the bank or do whatever. And it's like you have a limited Saturday for just a couple hours,
yeah.
to get things done. So,
Because
and
we
what
worked at
countries-
Target.
Yeah,
Yeah. Thursday was my off day. And I loved it.
Tuesday was
Yeah.
mine.
Yeah.
And I would take Tuesdays and go to Oak Mountain. I was the only one there.
Mhm.
Alex had to work Tuesday mornings, so I would be off work. I'd get up, go to Oak Mountain. I'd run the trails for 6 hours, 7 hours. When she got done work, I'd come home. You know, it was phenomenal. I love that. Just getting lost in the woods
Yeah.
and nobody out
Nobody there.
Yeah,
That's
nobody at
awesome.
all. You had to take a stick with you to get the cobwebs or the spider webs.
As you're going
Like
through.
you're running through there just doing this and
Right.
Isn't it, now correct me if I'm wrong, like I'm pulling this out of my butt, so I mean, I could be wrong. Nobody fact check me on this. But isn't it Henry Ford is the reason we kind of have a 40-hour
you're
work
right.
week? Like I said something one day, I was like, wait, this isn't like,
Of course, it's forward.
this isn't that new. Like we can't look at it like, well, it's always been this. No, it hasn't. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then look at the mental effects it's having. Like we as humans, you would mention it, like we're not meant to sit at desk, stuff like that. But even the assembly line, like the way that it was figured out to use us as a machine is what had come from it. And we have to learn to adjust. And because like I get bothered by, and this is just me, but I see people like, nothing against influencers, stuff like that. There's people, hey, they found a way to make money, do it.
Right.
But when people talk about like just hustling and just always going and blah, 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 I was like,
No.
You're either full of it or you're going to burn out.
Yep.
Like it's not
Right.
a thing. It's not like I kind of have friends of mine that overwork. You know, I know those people, but they're not the ones who talk about hustling and grinding.
Right.
They think they don't work that hard because because that's just how their mind works and they work too much.
Right.
But it's like usually those people who talk about that going at it nonstop. I was like, there's no way.
I saw it was hilarious. There was a TikTok or Instagram or something. This lady is filming through her blinds of this guy in front of her house doing all the things, like dancing up, and this girl is recording him.
Yeah.
Chains, lots of money, flashing it, and he's doing a motivational speech. And she like pokes her head out, and he turned around and they take off running like he was using her house. Oh, no.
Yeah.
But you're right. The people who I know who are grinding every day, they're not the ones pushing that. They're like, no, take some time, spend time with your family.
Yeah.
You know, don't
Yeah,
kill
because
yourself.
I have a good friend of mine, John, that is really successful, but he doesn't take a break. But but you'd never know that. Like if you know him, you know it's just hard to keep up with him because he's just always going. Like even when he goes on vacation, boom, he's working. But he's not the person who's talking about.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't. We're the ones constantly telling him, hey, you need to slow down.
Right.
You need to slow down.
And you need people in your life like that.
Yeah.
For sure.
I mean, you look at just from the world from an objective perspective, everything's cyclical.
Mhm.
So everything's a season. And so, when winter comes around, what most environmental beings are just like chill.
Mm-hmm.
In the summer and the spring, they're out like, let's go hard.
Yeah.
So why would we be any different than what our natural environment
Yes.
is kind of giving us the template for, and we're just going against it.
Well, speaking on living with busy schedules and stuff, at some point you were bouncing all over the place. I know you still are pretty active with F45. You told me, how many gyms did you go to this year?
It was around 180 gyms I visited in 2024. And that was all over. That's from, all over the United States, Dubai, Korea.
This is international.
F45 is in 66 countries. Wow. And there's me and 12 other athletes. I'm the oldest one. I say that because
You're
I'm
the most
proud of it.
handsome one.
Yeah, you know what? I wasn't going to say it out loud. No. There are some. I'll tell you what. These are good looking people. You know what I mean? They're fit. They're pushing it. They're amazing. But we're located all over the country. Like one of them, Jordy, is in New Zealand, and he owns his own franchise, and the others are coaches and things like that. And they've all applied for this position to be one of the athletes. And so all of us have been this past year, because F45 is doing a complete rebrand and pushing and changing. There was a lot of internal new CEO, things like that. And so this year was a big, let's get out and take care of our franchises and our members. That's their focus, taking care of the members. And so it was cool to go and do that. But in order to do that, on top of me doing speeches and other stuff, like it was nonstop.
Is Mark Wahlberg still?
He's out. He was in, and he's shifted his focus into something else.
Okay.
And Tom Dowd, the CEO, is business partners with Mark Wahlberg, and was like, no, we're going to just shift things. And now Tom Dowd is running F45 the way he wants to. And I love it, because F45, prior to Tom Dowd being the CEO, like they were pushing a lot of celebrity endorsements, things like that, Beckham, things like that. And now Tom is like, we're not doing celebrities. Our celebrities are our members. And I love that. I think that's amazing, because it's a community that, you have different fitness communities.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what I love about F45 is, you have a lot of those people that push it, they compete, they do other things, but then there's a lot of members that if it weren't for F45, they would not be exercising.
Yeah, well,
those are the members I love. I love it. Like to be like to an outsider, you may see somebody that you think that person will even exercise. Then you talk to them and find out they're 150 pounds lighter than they were.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like they're like, oh no, I'm in my best shape of my life. But then you see it in their demeanor. And I love those members. I love it.
That's awesome.
I'm here for that.
What was the farthest you had to travel for one of those?
I see either Korea or Dubai. I don't know which one's further, Dubai or Korea. I think Korea further.
I mean, it depends on which way you go, I guess. Are you a flat earther?
Yeah, well, not because is Korea be on the other side of the flat Earth? Is that the wait a minute? Is the flat Earth everything on the top?
Yeah,
It's just a 2D model.
it's the UN map.
But like I love Korea. Korea and the Korean market is booming with fitness and F45, but not just F45. Like it's that community is really embracing and taking it on, and they're just everyone there is so excited.
That's what you want. You want fitness to be exciting.
Yes,
and I think when people buy in, I'm thinking so hard on that. It's like trying to get. I'm building something for Shelby County as far as but I need buy-in from law enforcement, public mental health agencies, and all this. That's the hard thing. It's the buy-in. Yeah. So, but when you get that buy-in, you see this beautiful thing get created. You get excitement. You get those members that are like, I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for that. So it's huge.
And it is once you get someone in, that's the hard. Yeah, getting them in. Yeah.
Real quick. Hey, Santana, she's one of our members to the channel. So just say
awesome.
Hey. But no. The buy-in is huge. Me and Alex had a conversation about this. We're considered a private gym here. And so we don't have just operational hours where anybody can walk in. If you're not a member, you have to set up an appointment, all this. And we've had, I would say probably 70% of the people who set up an appointment not walk through the door. No. But of that 30% that come through the door, we have almost 100% retention.
Yeah.
When they walk in and they have that conversation with us and they see what we're offering with them, they tend to stick around. And I'd say we've got like Scott, he's been with me for going on 4 years now. He is stuck with it. He loves it. Jonathan's been with me for almost 2 years now. We've got clients that's been with us since the garage.
Well, a lot of that, and I'm going to say it out loud, like a lot of that's credited to you and your wife. Like people stay, the workouts are great wherever you go, but it's when someone feels seen and cared about,
100%.
They will do anything for you. That's good leadership. So that's on you. So that's awesome.
Absolutely.
Our goal is not to change 100% of who you are, is to help you foster a better life overall. And that's always been my goal. Like, if you want a six-pack, I'll get you a six-pack. You might hate me at that point. But, if you want to just be healthier and move better and do that kind of stuff, and then talk to me for a little while, I'm not a licensed guy, but I can still listen.
Yeah. But the only thing, everybody is, that's what we teach. We get heavily trained on specific areas, but everybody has the ability to learn how to active listen, know how to reflective listen, to be empathetic. Those are skills that you can hone and work on your everyday life. And I think that's what, you're actively working on those yourself. And that's why you're seeing people come to you saying, hey, I have an issue. I need somebody to talk to. That's because you're taking the effort and taking the time to hone those skills, and it's reflecting over the people that are bringing those problems to you.
Y'all chill. Y'all gonna make me cry over here. Talking me, buttering me up. I got whiskey in me now.
Hey, you know what? And this is a safe space. You can do that.
I'm a hugger. So
I am too. That's the problem.
You know what? That's a new thing for me, and I'm enjoying it. Like, in fact, I was talking to a gentleman the other day. So I was in Canada recently because my wife's grandmother passed away. I'm sorry. And talk about a close family. Like I told her father, her aunt, and my wife, every time I got emotional. Like, I have never witnessed personally the kind of relationship that family has. Like my wife's cousins, her brother, all that, everybody is so close. And their grandmother was, 94. It was still sudden, like, because she was doing so well that all of a sudden, but she passed away in her sleep. So it's like, you can't ask for anything better than that. But we're at the funeral home, and the funeral director and I started talking, And he opened up and shared with me, because you don't think about it, but that's all they deal with is death.
Yeah.
And then if you're a coroner, and he said this past year, he's like, he's been doing it for 20 something years. He's like, this past year, he's like, I can't be a coroner anymore. Because he's like, he said just the other day, there was a car wreck and he had to go, and it's 3 children
Oh yeah.
passed away, in the back. And so it's like, and he got so, and I was like, come here. And I felt him shift and come into my embrace.
Yeah.
And to be able to hold that for somebody, I find is just the biggest honor.
And that's at the essence, that's what we're supposed to do as
Yes.
humans. Like if we all took that approach and was just like they're present for one another, I think the entire world's going to shift.
Yeah. But the hard thing is making that, because there's so many of us that have been raised once, because it's affected by our childhood. And if you come from nothing, I'm not hating on my family, because they're a reaction of their generation.
100%.
And like my family, there's no affection.
Yeah.
Right.
No physical affection. Even with my kids, like I have 2 of my older kids, 15, 17-year-old, there's not a lot of affection, because I've created that. And now I'm trying to turn it around, because I'm like, oh, we got to be more loving, because it is. We need physical touch.
100%. Yeah, I agree.
That is who we are. Humans need that.
Mm-hmm.
But then if you're not used to it, it is a hard
It's
thing.
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So I will say, as much dysfunction in my family that we had, my parents were very affectionate. So I was very lucky with that. So like me giving a hug to anybody is not a big deal. I love giving hugs. But it's weird, because like I see my brother and me and him do side hugs.
Yeah.
But like I'll give Zach a full chest hug kind of thing. It's almost like it's weirder to hug my family than it is to hug. We just got to normalize it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say his name, but he knows who he is, because he's probably watching it while he's working out. But he can't stand to be touched.
Yeah.
He did a comp with me, and I pulled him into a picture, and I'm like hugging him. You could see he's stop.
Speaking of that, I'll tell you something that's interesting that I love to tell people the story about is when you first started having the competitions. Well, I don't even know if that was the beginning or not, but
That was one of the early ones that
when I got to MC, one, I loved it. And 2, though, I'll never forget, I was here the night before, and these big old men and women were coming through and getting their packets and stuff. And I went home and told my wife, I was like, I don't know how this is going to go tomorrow. Like, I don't think any of these people liked me, like this and that. And then we get to the event, and I realized, oh no, these are the biggest introverts I've ever met in my life, which makes sense. Like they compete, in a way that's like, they're like, I just want to pick up things, and push myself and what I can do and what I can
Most
accomplish.
of these guys are training in their backyard.
Yeah,
They're
by
not-
themselves.
by themselves 24/7.
Yeah.
They're not in a public gym like what we're used to.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they are some of the nicest people.
Oh yeah. Oh, once I got to know them, I was like, oh, these people are amazing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then it was fun because being MC, and then I knew which people, like I could say things, and you'd see them kind of this big old dude.
You're welcome to MC anytime you want.
I loved it.
I had to do it last time just because I didn't plan for an MC. We were trying to do it on a budget because everything was going to the benefit competition. Like, it was all going to good cause. So I ended up doing the first announcement, and I was like, crap, I don't have anybody to hand the mic off to. So
where was I?
I don't know.
It was the worst. You probably reached out to me and you didn't hear from me for 2 months.
No, it wasn't that bad. I think
I
the
was doped up. It was the day after surgery.
had to take him to surgery the day before.
Yeah.
Was it this year?
Yeah, it
It
was
was like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Wait, I was in Alaska.
Yeah.
No, I'm all over the place. This
December
year's been,
7th. Yeah, so it was just a couple weeks ago.
yeah.
But no, it was fun. I was doing the shows like this and doing YouTube. It's got me way more comfortable on the mic.
Yeah.
If you would have told me in high school that I would be standing in front of a 70 to 100 people doing like announcements and stuff,
No.
no, I couldn't do it in front of my class of friends.
Yeah.
Like now, though, I don't have an MC. Okay, I'll do it. And,
Yeah.
Calling up so and so, let's do something stupid. And I'll say
Awesome.
something stupid. But
Be like B-Rabbit at the shelter. You're going to freeze up.
yeah, no, I don't freeze up on the mic anymore. Thankfully. I'm sure people wish I would, though.
Hand the mic to one of those big guys.
I did. Trey has gotten pretty comfortable.
Yeah.
He does my, we do a Strongman podcast now.
Oh, so I bet, is it helping him?
He's always been more outgoing.
Yeah, he's not as,
He's got that big personality to go along with his size. Santana said, what'd she say?
Just, hey, guys.
About once a week. I'm almost ready. No, that's the little delay. There we go. I'm on
okay.
about once a week. I'd most rather do that than in front of a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've gotten very comfortable being in front of crowds. Not that I got anything positive or anything constructive to say. This is good whiskey.
Destructive.
Yeah.
I'm very a lot of destructive things to
I
say.
got a lot of destructive.
I was going to ask, when you opened it, y'all didn't say how it tasted.
It's because when you started drinking, it was
Yeah.
so good.
It's delicious. It's really smooth.
It's
got a great taste to it.
It's only 80 proof, so it's not strong, but it's really smooth. And
Have you ever looked into, there's a whole way that you're supposed to take it in and.
yeah, we've got the real glasses, but they don't have our logo on.
Oh yeah, because it has, and then you exhale it out your nose.
Mm-hmm.
Like I did some races, and there was a guy that was big into Scotch, and he had taught me that a long time ago.
There was somebody reached out to us to do something with this show, so hopefully in the future we can get him on here or collab with him. He's got a bigger following than we do, but it's called Brutally Honest Reviews or something like that. But it's BREW, like brew.
Yeah.
And he just posted a bunch of videos recently that he went up to some distillery in, I think, Kentucky, got some stuff. And like I was watching him do the smell test and then the taste test, and he was talking about the viscosity. I'm like, that's way over my head. I
That's
have no clue what you're talking about.
What is it called? Like a Semignon, or I'm messing that way up. But there's a title for people that do that.
Oh, Simonier,
Something like that.
but I think that's for wine.
Pretentious. I'm just kidding. All respect.
Oh, that used to just be wine?
I think so. Simonole.
Something.
Yeah.
It's something like that.
It's a person who like helps you pair your drinks with your food. Yeah. I don't go to those restaurants. I just see them on TV.
Yeah. I had a sister that dated somebody whose brother does that. That's the only reason I knew.
Let's be honest. You probably go to fancy restaurants.
I've been to a couple, but
It's very rare.
I don't do. Look, I'll tell you a funny story about a nice restaurant, and I'll name drop somebody that I was with. I was with John Cena, and we did a show, American Grill. It was on Fox, and it was about an hour south of Seattle. So then one night, a group of us went up. He took us all up to a restaurant in Seattle. And his guy that drove his bus and was like his assistant, this older guy, was like going on and on about me getting this dish that was like 4 steak fillets, and it was like $400. Something crazy. It's one of those where there's no prices on the menu. One of those.
That
and
hurt my
everything.
chest just thinking.
Well,
about
so I'm like, and I even said out loud, like, so you're saying like I should order this because I wasn't paying for it. And I didn't want to be that guy.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'll be like, I'll just get a salad. I'm okay. I don't know how you're doing, John. Maybe you're struggling. I don't know.
I think he's okay.
Yeah. So I order it. But when I order it, I said to the waiter, I said, do y'all have any ranch? The table goes silent. And he goes, I'm sure the chef can whip some up. I said, yeah, I'd love some for my steak. He goes, okay. They brought out this like in this fancy bowl of this ranch. It was amazing though.
I bet it was the best ranch
It was like, and those steaks were incredible with that ranch.
I've never had ranch on steak.
Oh, I went through a phase for several years where ranch was everything.
See, I did that in high school.
Yeah, I'm out of it
everything
now.
in high school tasted like crap, so I put ranch on it to make it taste better.
Yeah.
So pizza, even my darn corn, I'd mix a little
Yeah,
ranch. in there.
ranch. I would do it too.
But I never did it with steak.
Yeah.
Like ranch at all.
You know what? I think that is less offensive to a waiter than ketchup.
Oh, yeah.
Like ketchup.
I'm not a big fan of ketchup, but asking for ketchup at a nice restaurant, it's like,
For steak. Have you ever
Blasphemy.
heard people eat it with steak?
or A1. If you ask for A1 at a nice restaurant, they
Really?
Yeah, because see, we were down in either not the Dominican, but one of the Caribbean places for my niece's graduation trip, and we went down there. We were the people she wanted to go with her, so we went, her and her family, and we went to this restaurant. Just me, Alex, her sister, and brother-in-law, and we got these tomahawk steaks. And they brought them out in like a briefcase kind of thing, grilled them up on the right there in front of you. Beautiful. But I went to ask for like steak sauce, and my brother-in-law's
no,
no, we don't do that here. I'm going to toss a question out for whoever. Aggravated back injury a couple weeks ago at the comp. So everyone's kind of slowed down. How do I stay consistent, except to stay in the gym? So I'll say this. The biggest thing that I have had to force into people's minds here is when you get hurt, don't stay home. Depending on the severity, obviously, if you break your hand, obviously you can't do anything. But if it's a pulled muscle, strain, or something like that, don't stop moving. When you stop moving, it stirs up, it gets way worse. So I would, think of it as you're going to rehab. You're going in there to work out the stiffness, not necessarily lifting a keg, which I'm guessing is probably what happened. She said she aggravated back. It's either the keg or the yoke. I'm going to take a wild guess. But just use the motivation of it will help me get back quicker and get back into that mindset. But what's y'all's takes?
Yeah. Also just lean heavily on the community. A lot of times, when you get injured, you're still a part of that community. You can still cheer on other people. You can still gather that support. So for me, I remember having, a severe shoulder injury where I had 7 anchors put in and I was down for 3 or 4 months. It was in my mind at the time, I was like, well, there goes my ultra running career. I'm never going to run again. I'm missing an X race, Y race. It's just all downhill from here. And, I just had to reframe and reappraise my thoughts, get back in it, I really bought into the process. Like, let me start with my controllables. Let me start with what I can maintain at this time. And after I recovered fully, I had 2 or 3 of my best races. I won back-to-back 50 milers. And I was like, it was like laughable thinking back, 8 months ago, I thought I'd never get to run again kind of deal. And so, going through that personally and then getting injured with my hand, it was almost immediately when I hit the ground, I knew I had broken something. And I was like, well, this is going to be a long road ahead of me, but like, I've done this before.
He popped up smiling. I'm like, I'm looking at his hand swelling in real time. Like it's like a balloon.
Well, I've learned if I can quickly accept the reality of the situation, it makes me say, okay, what steps do I need to take to get me secured now? And then I can deal with emotions after I've already, that took a long time to get there.
Oh, sure.
But afterwards, it's like, there was a couple of days where I'm bummed. I can't be in the gym lifting. I can't do this. And so, but I'm still able to do core work. I'm still able to go out for my morning walking meditation. So it's buying into it, still dipping in the creek every morning. So
you came by a couple of times and just hung out with us.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. So going back to that initial comment of saying, stay within the community, stay within your support system. I would just come out, hang out, watch other people work out and kind of cheer them on, because that is still igniting the fire within me to get back after it when I do recover.
And I would add to that. I mean, just to sprinkle in something extra, it's like we always tell people, once you get involved in fitness in that community, everything changes. You'll start eating better because you are like the sum of those you're around, and that makes a difference.
Right.
So staying in that community is critical. But another thing that I've also experienced myself is like when you get injured or something and you're delayed, you're not able to do anything, you have to adjust your diet. Because if you're not burning those calories, and then that mental aspect of, well, I can't work out, guess I'm gonna go eat a sleeve of cookies. You know what I mean? Because it'll happen to any of us. I don't care who you are. Like it's that potential is there to fall completely off the wagon. And staying in, going in, whether it's stretching, whatever, just being in the community, excuse me, is critical.
Yeah.
Right.
To stay in.
Yeah. And like you said, it's modifying, it's readjusting. Yep. Goals are still going to remain the same. It's just now we have a new path to get there. It's that simple.
You know what? Sometimes when we have hard times and we're forced to adjust, we learn so much more about ourselves. And it's going to actually end up being better for your long-term goals.
Well, now that I'm re-injured now, if I wouldn't have gone through it already and seen the hard times, gone through the sadness, gone through those struggles, going through those, I'm angry, I'm pissed off, I'm frustrated. I wouldn't be at the point where I could hit the ground, pop up, like, okay, well, this is a really bad situation, but I'm okay. I'm going to be able to manage it going forward.
I got nauseous. Like, and I've seen a stake through a guy's chest. Well,
yeah,
I seen a tree limb through a guy's chest when I responded to a truck accident. That made me nauseous. That was like, oh God, he's probably dead. I hate to say it like that, but she said it was the yoke run. I was pretty close. And then Keith said, "What's up, guys?" So Keith's joined us. Keith? He hasn't been in for a little while. He's dealing with some stuff right now. I hope he's doing well, but hope to see him back in the gym soon. But all of that said, made me think of a good question. What was it like, if you don't mind us telling us, getting the mindset to start working out when
it was for me, I was very fortunate to have gotten into fitness early on in life, and it became my thing. Like, it was my escape. And for me to get injured, and then that was the worst shape I'd ever gotten in. Mm-hmm. Like, I was struggling mentally, emotionally, everything. And it was when I was like, hey, I got to start exercising again. And for me, that was what I loved about it. Looking back, was there was nothing there was no books, magazines, nothing on the internet that could tell you how to work out, miss an arm or leg. There was nothing. This was 2008, 2009. Yeah. So then I just joined a 24-hour gym. I was going in the middle of the night when nobody was there.
What gym, if you don't mind me asking?
Snap Fitness.
Was it Snap?
Snap in Calera.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
At the airport exit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I joined there, and because I lived right down the road from it. And it actually was exciting, because then I put in my head, okay, well, this is like I'm a kid again. Because I was the kid, and I see it in my 17-year-old son. He's the one in his friends group that's like, okay, here's the workout we're going to do. Because it's just all I did was read and thought about fitness. Yeah. So to be like, okay, well, let's see what I can figure out now. And, what started off with just trying to give me something to do ended up being a huge part of who I am. And it helped me. It got me through a lot of things. Like, of course, I've learned now that there's the physical and there's the mental. I was shoving the mental side down and not taking care of that health side, but the physical side I was pushing. But one leads to the other eventually. Right, you can get there. And so for me, it was being able to find something that it motivated me to try to just figure out what was going on and what I could do. So that's like, like I said, when we're talking about like getting injured and have to change what you're doing, you learn a lot about yourself. And so me getting injured and then getting back into fitness was something that made me feel good about myself, to be like, okay, yeah, I've got this. Then I became more comfortable. Like I wore a prosthetic arm for the first several years of being injured. Mm-hmm. It didn't look real, but it just having an arm, I didn't use it. Mm-hmm. It was just there. And the only time I didn't wear an arm was at home when no one could see me. Mm-hmm. But then when I started feeling better about the way I looked, not that people that have prosthetic arms shouldn't wear theirs. Like, if I was functional with it, it would have been amazing, but I just never learned to use it. And once I felt comfortable with how I looked, then I could be more who I was, which is me without the prosthetic. Mm. Now, that being said, I grew up with a father with one hand. So that was, so I adapted to doing things with one hand a lot faster than other guys that were in the hospital with me. And so that was another positive. So that's why, like, when people see me, like, why don't you wear an arm? For me, it's because being above the elbow, like, there's a whole strap there. You got to work the elbow.
Well, it's probably just in a way now that you're so comfortable without it.
Oh yeah. Oh, when I quit wearing it all the time, I remember one time right before I completely I now don't even own a prosthetic arm except for my motorcycle arm, but it's just to hold on to the handlebars. I remember one time I was wearing it and I slammed it into everything because I'm used to not anything being there, and it would hit. One time I was in New York walking down the sidewalk, and it's the most useful attachment on a prosthetic arm is actually the hook that opens up. Like, the one that looks like a hand isn't as useful, but having that hook while I'm walking and the hook grabbed a woman's purse and it's like, oh, and I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry.
It's like a Home Alone 2, the Sticky Bandits.
That's exactly what popped in my head. Just trying to steal a woman's purse on the street. The funny thing is, she ripped it off and she stole from you.
Yeah, I know, the arm. She takes off with the arm.
It's probably more expensive to us than the purse.
Yeah. Well, you're lucky that you had that that drive beforehand, because I'm sure it's really hard for people who don't have that drive to begin with to get even motivated to do anything afterwards.
Yeah. I mean, because losing a limb, what it does, I remember being told in the hospital, you have to mourn the loss of your arm and your leg. Now, going back to comparisons, I was like, the guy in the next room is missing 3 limbs. There's a guy down the hall that's missing 4. There's these guys that are severely burned. And I was like, I'm okay. Well, that's ridiculous.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because think about it. Right now,
Yeah.
I'm saying, well, I couldn't worry about missing arm and leg. There are worse people.
Right.
Oh,
Y'all are like, what?
Right. Well, a loss is a loss.
Yes.
And I think people forget that grief is not just death. Grief can be any type of loss. And I've had to educate people, like, they're like, oh my gosh, my cat got hit by a car. I was like, and they're like, I don't feel bad about crying. I was like, I'm about to cry for your cat.
Because there's an emotional attachment.
Yeah, because anything that you're emotionally attached to, if you lose it, you're going to grieve it, and you need to go through that process in order to heal from it and move on.
Yeah. Well, I remember, not to, but like, I remember when they told me to mourn the loss of my arm, it didn't even register in my head what that really meant either, until these last 2 years. Because I was sharing with my wife one day, I was like, oh my God, I was like, in my head, I was like, what, you want me to have like a
ceremony?
A ceremony, yeah. And now I'm like, oh my God, but I never dealt with it. In fact, the funniest story I got is I told somebody about a year ago, I was with some friends and I was telling them about how, because I fly in and out of like Toronto all the time because my wife's family is Canadian. I'm like, sometimes I was like, because it's, international and you have to go through, this, I was like, I'll go through the disabled line. I said it like, and they're like, that's for you, right? I'm like, oh yeah, I guess. I guess I am.
I got really cheating the system.
I think I'm getting over on something. And they're like, no, that's like for you. Like, that explains why no one's ever questioned me. But I will kind of add an extra limp. Like, because I'm in good shape. So I don't want to be like, hey guys, run up to the counter. Let's go.
Just like lean up to your wife. Hey, baby, get that handicap placard out.
Yeah. But then people don't see that there's another side. Like, it doesn't take much if I injure my residual limb, that stump. And there's been times when I was doing all those races, I don't know how many times, and my ego would get in the way. So I remember walking through airports, sweating profusely, just in pain, but trying to walk as normal as I could. And then you turn a corner and just be like, oh my God, and couldn't wait to get somewhere and take the leg off just to let it kind of like. And
I remember there was a couple times in the garage where you had to like sit down,
yes,
take the sleeve off and everything, and relax.
And to get out of my head, because then all I was doing, that's just like anybody else. Like, that'd be like you being like, oh, I broke my hand, but who cares? I'm gonna keep doing all this other stuff and not heal anything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, it's been eye-opening of like how much you use what you take for granted.
Yeah.
So like I went the other day just like to grab something. I was like, I can't squeeze my hand right now. I can't hold my bubbly, my sparkle. It's just.
Oh no, the perfect thing was at dinner a couple nights ago when the lady's trying to hand you the margarita and you're like,
I was just like,
it was a medium. So it was like, it's a 2-hand margarita. And he's like, can you set it down?
But it's like, but it's also been it's also been a practice in asking for help. And so a lot of times I'm like, I just want to do it myself, blah, blah, blah. And it gets to the point where like, I can't.
Yeah.
Like the other day I was at work and I was like, my shoe came untied. And like, I'm trying my best. I just can't get it.
Yeah.
And so I had to walk into the next office like, hey, can you tie my shoe?
Yeah.
I'm like, it's so like,
the key ring.
Oh yeah, the key ring. So I just took a new job with the county, and most maintenance men are just blue collar, beer, dip, just manly man. And so he came in my office. He's like, hey, here's your new key. And he's like, and you just put it in your key ring. And I was looking, I was like, but at this point I've already asked for help so much.
Yeah.
I was like, hey man, it's really great to meet you here. Thanks for rekeying and everything. I said, can you put it on my key ring?
Yeah.
And he kind of paused at me for a second. Like, is he being an asshole?
Yeah.
And I was like, no. I was like, I broke my head. Oh, absolutely. He's like, so willing to help. And I was like, thank you. But it's almost, you're building a connection, building a rapport, asking for help. Because some people just want to be able to do something for somebody else.
Yeah.
But
and I share with people all the time because I'm because we're going back to like being visibly injured, like people want to help me. And I learned quickly not to take offense to that. Like people just like, I do the same thing. If you can help somebody, you help somebody. But I've learned to, if I don't need their help, I will adamantly thank you for offering to help.
Yeah.
Like I want people to know I genuinely, like I'll look at them. Thank you so much for asking for that.
Yeah.
To help. Because I want them to not ever feel like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have asked that.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
It sucks because men in general, I mean, we are told, not to ask for help. We're supposed to be able to do it on our own and all that stuff. So we're having to go against the grain to do
Which
it.
is ridiculous.
It is.
And it's only,
Right.
I would say it's only because if you go back into when they were tribes, well, the only way that humans survived is because we work as a community.
Absolutely.
And you don't have to ask it for help because they were all doing what they could.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know what I mean? So yeah, this mindset is something that we have to get out of, because what a man is meant to be is, in order to be a real provider and protector, sometimes providing and protecting is providing love and comfort.
Right.
And you know what I mean? Like there's another way of looking at it instead of being the aggressor and thinking that you should not, one, show the affection to your family. Sometimes that manly, being tough guy, it's like that's not doing any good for you or your family.
Absolutely.
And it takes, for a lot of us, it takes learning.
It does. And there's a huge big thing, alpha this, alpha that, toxic masculinity. And when it boils down to it, it's like I would rather be a man that's emotionally intelligent than I am that's going to be this gung-ho, super strong, oh, I'm the right at all times kind of deal. And that's what people want. People want people that are emotionally intelligent, that have appropriate emotions in the appropriate time. If I lose somebody, I want to be able to cry and it not be, oh, you're a man.
Well, you know what? I'll touch on that with my mental health journey. Like I used to bottle that up, but when you suppress an emotion, it suppresses a lot of emotions. I've been criticized in the past from people I was in relationships, whatever. Do you not get excited about things? You know what I mean? Because I can be on when I'm on, but then I wouldn't, I would kind of just be dull in other things. But then eventually those emotions come up, and when they would, it was anger, and I would pitch a fit. And I love using that term because it's not, I don't think of it. I now definitely don't when I look back at the times that I had gotten angry or even tried to start a fight with somebody, that was me acting like a child, and I've learned now what a flashback is. I used to think a flashback was a Vietnam veteran jumping under a table, but no, a flashback is when you are reacting to something and you don't know how to control those emotions, but then you do like a child and pitch a fit. And that, I think, is the part that we need men to understand, that it's going to benefit you to adjust to that emotional intelligence. And I just saw an article the other day that talked about how they did a 40-year study on some kids. They followed for 40 years. And there was a lot of information, but really what really came out of it, they said the number one thing that those that were successful was emotional intelligence.
Absolutely.
And my wife's family, I mentioned what an amazing family my wife has, and everyone's successful, and they're, and success is measured in different ways, but their emotional intelligence in that family is incredible.
Right. And it's like when, from a military aspect. So an emotionally intelligent leader, you're supposed to maintain your men at a certain degree, but sometimes if an individual's beaten down so much, you don't need to hound him.
Yeah.
You need to pull him in and be like, hey, what's going on, man? I care about you.
Yeah.
And that's when you see that empathy come out, and they may break down, but now you can resource to get them the proper help that they need and get them back on track and get them back with the unit, get them back with the team. That's like, cool.
And those are the best leaders. And the leaders that you feel actually care and seen by. I've had one of those leaders, and he's climbed his way up in the middle. Like, he is super successful, and it's because he cares, and we felt it and knew it. And you will do anything for a person like that.
Absolutely.
Anything.
Absolutely. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good. Something triggered when you said the study and talking about the emotional intelligence is kind of the same thing, but they took children and they showed the difference between children who were told you're super intelligent, you're so smart, you're so good at this, versus the one saying you're doing so good, you're trying so hard, you're making the effort. Those kids went on to be super more successful. The ones who were told, oh, you're super smart, they were like, oh, I'm smart, I don't need to try anymore.
Yeah.
So they quit trying. And so that it's that emotional intelligence, but also the right direction from the guardian or the people around you. Not just to say, oh, you're so strong, but you're killing it in the gym. You're working hard, or, or you're so smart. No, you're studying really hard. I'm proud of you for doing that. So getting to that point where we're not just sending off false praise.
Yeah. No, it is so funny you say that. So like, cause my older kids are 20, 17, 15, and I've got a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm starting all over. But I'm loving it. Being in my 40s and starting over, but with my wife and the way that we were raising our 2-year-old, like she's explained that stuff to me, because then she's constantly learning. And that's the other thing is like, we're always like what we were told 20 years ago. Hey, there's nothing wrong with realizing, hey, okay, now we've realized that isn't, there's a better way of doing it.
Absolutely.
And, and I see it in my older kids, and I tell my older kids all the time, I'm bad about being like, I'm so sorry the way I raised you. Like, I know that I'm doing it better now.
But having that conversation with them now probably means the world to them.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, hey, my parents who are in their 70s, I hope I got that right. No, they are like, they could make a change today, and me and my sisters would feel the impact.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's
absolutely.
like, I remind myself that all the time. Like, okay, yeah, it wasn't always the best for them when because not only they had a father that was severely injured, like, and not dealing with my stuff, and the children of combat veterans have a much higher suicide rate than their counterparts. So I've told my kids, like, I've got all my kids in therapy, and it wasn't easy to get them in, but it was with that, like, hey, like, guys, I know that I have done things that have caused issues that we may not even know yet.
Right.
But we're going to, and now I'll tell you what, my daughter who's 15 loves, and it's all about finding the right therapy. I tell that all the time.
Absolutely.
Look, people go to therapy like, because I did that for years. Like, yeah, it just doesn't work for me, or this and that. And well, no, but you have to, one, be ready, and two, find that person you connect with. It's like, I personally have a therapist that I just love him. Like, he's able to, I feel comfortable. And the first time I've let my guard down and then got to heal. But anyway, with my kids, like, to get them to understand that. My daughter, where I was going with that was, she told me the day we were talking about, her one day having children. She's like, well, I'm going to have my kids in therapy before they're even 5. I'm like, good for you. Like, she realizes, like, no, this is something that is necessary. And it is, just like you should have somewhere where you're taking care of your fitness, all that. This most complicated organ in our body is right here.
Right. And we want to neglect that.
Yeah, I know, right?
That's what I tell people all the time. It's like, you have a third party that's not family, that's not friends, that's unbiased, that's unjudgmental, that's just helping you guide and steer and deal with all the things that are going on in your head. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why a lot of therapists have therapists, because they also, it's just a way to improve your overall life. Like you said, you want a gym membership. Why? To get physically fit. Like, why wouldn't you have a mental membership in a sense to get you mentally fit? And
people, is that something that is a struggle right now to get appointments because there's not enough.
Right.
But give it time. Like, hopefully it encourages more people to get in that world and be those leaders for us that can be our therapists and counselors.
Yeah. And I think the more we destigmatize it, the less, I think eventually they're going to start backing off in the red tape. There's so much red tape from a legal standpoint when it comes to therapy. But if it grows to a point where, like, hey, we see this need, they may, bring it back down a little bit.
Perfect opportunity to plug.
Oh, I'm not. I just feel bad about plugging.
He asked for it.
I'm telling you to.
But I mean, yes. But I just did launch my own private practice, Tier 1 Counseling Solutions, and it's focusing. Yeah, we have clinical therapy, but we also focus a lot on mental performance and mental aspects of just either fitness or day-to-day living. I did a mental toughness course, and I'm planning to launch a few more courses about emotional regulation, stress management, like communication. So I want to be able to bring those to people at a reasonable rate, saying, hey, these are skills that you can hone without having that in-depth clinical therapy.
Yeah.
And I just started my first forest therapy. So I'm going to do a forest therapy hike in January at Oak Mountain State Park.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So it's going to be strictly about goal setting. So it's going to be about a 5-mile hike, but we're going to have individual and group activities along the way to really figure out the direction. Because a lot of times, you look at Greek philosophy, most of those people are walking and having these meetings because walking creates that boosting creativity, creates that clarity. So what better place to do it than in the forest?
Gets let down.
Yeah.
You start to say things you probably wouldn't normally say. Because I joke about it all the time on the podcast that I pay you in alcohol for therapy because there's probably 3 or 4 episodes that's never aired just because we got too into conversation that I don't want to share.
Yeah.
It's private. We used to do a lot of these pre-recorded, and now we've gotten where we're doing live. But it's true. I'm very grateful for Zach because Zach is probably next to my wife. If Alex is watching, I'm sorry. Zach is probably the next person that I confide in a lot of things and I talk to about everything. And I know how many times we go hikes and we'd stay out there for hours. Sometimes we wouldn't talk. Sometimes we'd talk the whole time. But just getting out into nature. That's a huge.
And that's what I've got every single morning. It's a lot of times with my job, I was working a lot of after hours on call stuff. So it's so sporadic. So I'm like, where's my controllable? And unfortunately, it's 4:30 in the morning. So I've gotten to the habit of getting up, getting out, throwing on the headlamp, and just not even going for a run, not even going for like a hike. It's a stroll. Yeah. It's just to be out there for 30, 40 minutes. And then afterwards, I'll go dip in the creek for 3 or 4 minutes. It's like I'm doing something that's connecting me and centering me. And now the rest of the day, it's typically cake. I've already been super successful, and it's not even 6 o'clock yet. And so now I feel really good about whatever is going to happen to me going forward.
No, that's one of the things that my wife has been adamant about me. And I'm trying to get to that point where it's like, if I could just get up and just do meditation, just have that silence, and I come from the world that, me and my wife, we've been married for 4 years.
4 years already?
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah. And we battled. Like I criticized, I judged. It's probably still, if she's wife, she'd be like, still do. But because it's like I was dumb enough to be like, oh, that hippie stuff. And it's like, get that out of your head. Like, and there's so many and like one of the things that helped me get my 17-year-old into therapy was to say, hey, you love fitness? You love taking care of yourself? Hey, this is what real athletes do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
This thing's been acting funny lately. I don't know what's going on.
You're right. But a lot of times it's the lack of education.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
We feel it. We know it's there. We don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And so bringing that to light is. And but you're right. Like I talk a lot about the wheel of wellness. It's like you got your physical aspect of it, you got the mental aspect, you got the spiritual aspect, you got the social aspect, you got your work aspect. So all those things need to have like pretty stable buckets to roll. Mm-hmm. If your family time goes to like a 1 and your fitness is at a 5, you're still gonna have that on your wheel. So it's about finding that balance. You don't take your car to get your wheels balanced if it doesn't need balancing, but when it's thudding, something's off. Yes. So that's why it's important to continuous reassessment. Like I will reassess once a month, like, hey, what did I do really well this month? What do I need to improve on? So now I'm gaining that awareness and refocusing what I need in my efforts. Yeah. So.
Well, I think that's what it was. It was telling us we've been over an hour.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah.
That is crazy.
65 minutes. Yeah.
That happened like the last time.
Yeah,
I had
It
Yeah,
did. It
conversation
did. Didn't
just
we have to go
rolls.
like part 2 or something like that, or we stayed after or some shit?
We stayed afterwards for like another 30 minutes last time. We probably need to wrap this one up, but there's a couple things I wanted to talk about because you've got something coming up.
Oh, I'm super excited about it. I'm glad we're here to talk about it because it'll happen here.
Yeah. So for everybody watching at home, if you scroll down into the description, you'll see a little hyperlink. So, yeah, it's the first thing in the description. Go check out Noah's new YouTube channel. So it just started this week, and he is going to be doing a podcast called "Living with No Excuses." I had to look at your shirt to remember what it was. But kind of going through your history. You're going to have a co-host, correct?
Yep. I'm having a co-host is actually my brother-in-law who is, you got, he's a different personality than I am.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the more analytical and very, he's very smart, very well-read and can point things out. Cause I'll be like, blah, blah, blah. He's like, where did you read that? I'm like, okay, I may not know if that's true or not.
I saw the headline.
Yeah. But, I want to do a podcast because one, like I've gotten the opportunity of sharing my story on stage, and I get to do it all the time, and I love it. And I've shared recently on my social media in a video. I said, even when I was in my denial with my mental health, when I was sharing on stage, it was forcing me to deal with some emotions, and that was good because they say when you share, you heal. And so I want to do more of that, and I want to just share my experiences and then connect with people and then talk about mental health, talk about mental toughness, talk about all these different things. And I feel like I've had the opportunity of traveling and meeting so many incredible people. Yeah. And I want to share these random stories.
I love it. I'm excited.
There's so many things. Like, of course, we'll find out where it goes. The podcast will evolve, but I'm super excited about it. One, because here's another thing is like as a kid, my dream was to be on radio.
Really?
I wanted to be a radio DJ.
Well, welcome.
And yeah, for a short time, I was on morning radio. I was on Rock 99 here in Birmingham, Alabama, Mojo in the morning. I went there. I was representing an organization that worked with injured veterans. So it was after I was injured. And we go on afterwards. Mojo was like, man, you were really good. Do you want to do more of this? I'm like, yes. So then I started getting up at 3 o'clock every morning. And I was there and then learning how to edit and create things and blah, 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 then going on. And it was awesome. I absolutely loved it. And so when I was thinking about what I want to do next in life, podcast was always there, but I didn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
And so then, of course, I bring it up to Chuck, and he's like, boom, boom, boom. And then he put everything together. I'm like, yes, this is what I need. This is a perfect partnership because like I like to do my thing, but I'm not capable of what he's good at.
Right.
And just being organized and laying things out. And I am excited to just do something that I just enjoy doing, just sitting, talking to other people and sharing stories.
Oh, yeah. I'm very excited because I think we're going to be able to, working together, I think we'll be able to bring in a lot of interesting people for you to chat with. I mean, you've got a very good backstory for yourself, a lot of stories that you can tell about yourself. And I think the people that we can bring in to kind of balance that will be great.
And I want to, without scaring people away, I want it to make mental health a normal thing that's talked about.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like we don't have to be, every episode's going to be sad, but it's going to be a normal thing. Mental health is normal.
It's just as normal as like fitness.
Yes.
It literally is.
There is a way for me to do this. And I'm putting you on the spot because we're live still. Granted, we only have a couple people watching. But I can stream to your channel and my channel at the same time. So we could do a joint podcast from time to time where we do Whiskey, Weights, and Whey and no excuses. And
you've blown my mind on what is capable with like doing the live thing. I didn't know this was a thing because I remember I even looked into. I was like, I want people to be able to call in. I actually wanted to create a radio show because I even found out, okay, podcasts aren't like radio shows.
Right.
You can't just play music at random. Because I was like, oh, how cool would it be to have musical breaks and talk about these bands?
And I was like, have musical breaks.
Yeah, you know the people.
right this moment.
Yeah. But like, I'm super excited about opening it up to do a lot of live streaming because I want to connect with people.
We get it to the point where I could set up a secondary room with a musician or something, and you're like, hey, let's go listen to his music for a second and go play a song and then come
late
back.
night talk show.
Yeah, just like that.
Special guest.
We can do it. I will figure it out. If I don't know how to do it, I will be willing to learn. So I'm very excited. Again, if you haven't done also already, go down to Noah Galloway Athlete. Now, that has been the biggest obstacle I've had to do, because when you search Noah Galloway on YouTube, you don't show up. All the stuff about you shows up because you've been on Ellen, you've been on Dancing with the Stars.
There's a bunch of Tough Mudder videos. Like I did a lot of these,
yes.
and they would have this great footage.
There's a ton of podcasts that you've been on. Apparently, I didn't know this, but I started looking through, and there's a ton of podcasts.
I love doing podcasts.
Yes,
I love it.
Hence why I'm starting a podcast.
Yeah, I was like, maybe I should do my own. Which I will still go on anybody's podcast if they ask me. Like, I just love doing it.
Yeah, I've been working hard for the last 3 days, and I took it as a huge win. Last night, I went into incognito mode so it doesn't show my history, and I searched Noah Galloway on YouTube, and one of the first things popped up on Shorts was one of the posts that I made for you. So
awesome.
I was like,
so you're
yes,
already making it happen.
yes, like we're getting closer to finding you instead of finding about you.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited with that. It's going to be living with no excuses, but you're going to post probably other stuff too. Especially if I'm running it, I'm going to steal everything from your Instagram and put it over there too.
Yeah.
But I'm excited for that for sure. And we're going to make this room into a permanent podcast room. So it's going to change over time. It's not going to be 100% perfect for your first episode, but we'll get there.
Well, I mean,
little by little.
I'm excited about it for several reasons, but another thing that excites me about partnering with you is one is I know you, and we're friends. I care about you, but I feel like we're both going to benefit from it. We're both going to put everything we can into it, and there's going to be hopefully a benefit that comes out of it.
Yes.
We're not going to say hopefully. We're going to say there's a benefit that's going to come out of it.
Yeah, there's an end goal for both of us.
Yes, and I am excited about that.
Yes,
because it sounds corny to say it, but if you can do anything that is bringing people along with you,
absolutely.
That's like, even if people don't realize it, they think that they want to be on top by themselves.
They don't.
No.
I mean, they probably do, but they don't.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's what it's like. I mean, me and my wife talk about it all the time. It's like there's enough success for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, you being successful is not taken away from my success. It's not taken away from Chuck's success. But if we can all be successful together,
that's a hard thing for people to learn.
It is
because they don't realize that, and they maybe been trained, whether they realize it or not, to judge others and think, well, they're doing well. You know what I mean? Because you know what? I do it too. You can't help. There's a joke in the veteran community that nobody will hate on you more than another fellow veteran. So we're super supportive, but then also you'd be like, well, why not? Because look, like as an injured veteran, you know how many in the past I will not hate on. But you're like, oh, are they getting more attention than me?
Last story before we need to sign off. But I remember you telling me, and I hope I'm not saying anything that's going to get you in trouble. But you were telling you were telling me about you climbing the mountain.
Yeah.
You were telling me about another individual on that hike that you were like, I can't let him outdo me.
Yeah.
And it's because he had fewer limbs than you, didn't he?
Well,
it is like, you can't let him outdo you.
I don't remember which. I know there was. I don't when I went to Kilimanjaro.
Yes.
Yeah, and it was a struggle. There were a couple of injured guys that had different things going on, and my ego got in the way, and I was. In fact, I didn't make the summit.
I thought you did.
And what it boiled down to was, you hit a certain point and then you stay, you acclimate, and then you take off in the middle of the night and you reach it at sunrise. Well, when I say you're supposed to, in Tanzania, I forget what the name, I just drew a blank, but whatever their language is called, but it's poli means slowly, because you're at altitude.
Yeah.
You're supposed to creep.
Yep.
I took off. And I had two guides that, local that went with me, because they're a good thing they were actually there monitoring me. Because I got to a certain point where it's like I got sick, I was throwing up, and then it was like, okay, let's go. And then boom, we're going again. And then I don't know how they said I was pretty close, but then I black out and I wake up to them dragging me down. And then I'm like, whoa, then I'm kind of getting my bearings and I'm like, and I wait, and I'm like, okay, I'm ready to keep going. They're like, no, you don't go up anymore. And then it took a long time going down to even come across my group because they were moving slowly. And I crushed every goal when I say crushed, not in a good way. Like I was not able because of my ego. There was no reason for me to be rushing.
Right.
None. There was no race. There was nobody timing me. And I didn't summit. And it was, I'll tell you what, when I passed the guys, the emotion hit me. When I got to my tent at base camp, I sat in there and just boo-hooed because because you go to do something and push yourself. And my stump was beat up. I started feeling the altitude for a couple of days. Like there were a couple of days that those last couple, like I was feeling it. And then recently my sister went to Peru. Her stepson married a girl that's family is in Peru. So she went to visit them and they went and did some hiking and she didn't handle altitude. And she found out she wants me to go get checked out. She has low iron.
Oh,
and when you have low iron, you struggle at altitude. And I'm like, of course, that's one thing, but my ego was the main thing that was driving the force of not making the summit. And it was because I was like, well, I don't want this guy to do it. Me not do it. And I was on the cover of Men's Health. I have to. Oh, there's a picture of me. Like we're not even anywhere. We're not even halfway up that mountain and we're on a cliff and I take my shirt off and I've got pictures of me shirtless.
That's why I thought, because I've been doing a lot of like stealing from your Instagram to put onto YouTube.
I've never said that out loud, but I think about that a lot. I'm like, oh my God, they're all like this guy.
That's literally the picture that I remember. Like I was like, I thought he made it to the summit.
No,
I thought that was
I'm not anywhere near the summit. I'm just a shirtless guy.
You heard
on
it
a
here
cliff.
first.
Right.
On Whiskey Weights and Whey. He did not make the summit. He's just shirtless.
Yes.
But I will say this: one of the best videos that I've posted so far is you cooking a pancake shirtless.
Yeah.
So people are saying, I would like to see you shirtless.
Shirtless, yeah.
I wouldn't, but for your YouTube channel, yes. Yes,
These were protein pancakes too.
They were.
Yeah.
They were. I literally copied and pasted your tag and everything. Like this, your post. Well, I appreciate everybody who joined us today. We are coming up on an hour and a half.
Oof.
So we're going to sign off here, Zach. Nobody cares.
Train harder.
Love it.